Hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Badge. Today we are honoured to have Harminder Rai-Mottram, a dedicated detective constable for Public Protection Unit in the Rape and Serious Sexual Offence team based in the city. We'll explore her crucial role in protecting vulnerable individuals and addressing serious offences. I'm your host Anu and I'm excited to bring you this insightful conversation. Hello Harminder. Welcome to the show Behind the Badge. The effort behind this show is to bring reality from people like yourselves to the community. If they hear your stories, your experiences, I'm sure they will get inspiration or at least have a clear picture about the people who work behind the badge, who make it all happen. So, as I start, my first question to you is, tell me your story of becoming a detective. When did you dream of it? Or was it even in your list of aspirations? And when did it happen?
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm Harminder Rai-Mottram. I'm a trainee detective constable for Nottinghamshire Police. I'm currently posted in the Public Protection Unit, specialising in rapes and serious sexual offences. I'm city-based within Nottingham. I, being very honest, never dreamt of being a police officer, ever. So I'll give you a brief of my journey of how I've come where I am today. So I finished school at 16 and I then did 2 years of studying at college. Business studies. It was kind of a chosen study as well from my parents. The kind of route that they wanted me to go down was more business studies at the time, so I progressed into that. After I finished my 2 years study, which was MVQs, I think they were called at the time, I don't know what they're called now, I started working in an accountancy firm. They were called BDO Stoy Hayward, I think they're called the Tennant Group PLC now, quite a well-known global accountancy firm. And I started off as an office junior back in the days and progressed my way through. So I was with the firm for about 8 years, progressed my way through. I went and became a PA to directors at the time, and then I progressed to, it was a deal origination analyst. So I was specialising in looking at companies for management buyouts and acquisitions. Very different to what I'm doing now. So that was my start of my career ever for 8 years. And then I think eventually I must have got bored after 8 years and thought, where am I going? And went down the route of being a salesperson in business development with a security firm. So I started doing sales for security, so your man guarding and different CCTV technology, like different security technology and so on. Again, something very different. Did that for about 5 years and finished off as a head of business development. Had my own team of business development managers and analysts and so on. And I used LinkedIn. It's like a business platform to network with a lot of various businesses, and I was pretty much headhunted, is probably the best way to put it, into motorsport, which is probably where I would say the exciting part of my life began. I started working for Donington Park, well-known circuit within the East Midlands, as a hospitality manager. And I did that for about 4 years. Absolutely loved it. It was, an eye-opening opportunity for me. Made lots of contacts through the industry. Worked with global events like World Superbikes, touring cars, and then obviously British Superbikes, which is quite well known in the UK. And then once again, I was headhunted by an agency. It became quite popular through LinkedIn. I noticed it was a lot of agencies would contact you and so on, but this opportunity I could not say no to. It was an opportunity to work as a promotions and partnerships manager within F1, so Formula One. Now I was working on probably one of the biggest motorsport platforms you could ever think and dream of. And I'm a family person, so I had to speak to my husband, and I said, I'm now going to be leaving the UK and travelling abroad. How do you feel about this? He's a massive motorsport fan himself, so he says, you've got to go for it. And I did that for a couple of years. And as much as I enjoyed it and loved it, it does impact your home life because you're never at home because you're out of the country. I travelled abroad, saw some exciting things within the motorsport industry and met the most amazing people. But again, it didn't suit the lifestyle. So I then met a couple of my contacts I'd made from Donington Park days who offered me a job. This was now the Ron Haslam Race School, which was more local for me to obviously work from home and from their facilities, and also work operationally from Donington Park. And I did that for just under 4 years. And unfortunately, COVID happened in 2020. One of the main sponsors, this is obviously all public news as well, so it's nothing confidential. So Honda was one of the main sponsors for the race school, and it was coming up to the 25th year anniversary, and they unfortunately pulled the contract. So the contract ended, and that would have left me without a job. And one of my good friends who actually works for Nottinghamshire Police, who is a massive motorsport contact, he said to me, why don't you join the police force? And at the time I said, I'm too old. I'm too old to join the police force. And he says, you're never too old to join the police force. Why don't you apply? So I applied for 2 different roles. I applied for a staff role based at our headquarters to play safe, 9 to 5, play the safe role. And then also applied through a scheme called the Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship. And I got interviewed for both. But the staff role, that progressed quite quickly, and I got offered the job, and I said yes to that because I thought, I've not heard anything about the policing role. So I've got a job, and I'm very honoured to be a part of Nottinghamshire Police with a staff role. I didn't hear anything back for a while because it was COVID during 2020 and 2021 when the applications were going through. And obviously, I don't know if you're aware, when you apply for the police, you have various stages you have to progress through.
Yes.
So the application, then you have to do various assessments to prove, obviously, that you are aware of how to deal with situations and so on in policing, working with your communities and so on, and also the dreaded fitness test. So I thought, I'm way too old to be running around, but I'll give it a go. And, you know, to my surprise, I passed the fitness test, and 8 months later, I got offered the job. And also having the job offer from the staff side,
Had you started already?
I hadn't started it because there was the vetting going through, and that took about 3 months as well. Again, because of COVID, it took a lot longer than it normally would. Because I'd said yes to that, and I felt really bad, but again, I spoke to my husband at home because I thought, at the end of the day, I know at the time when I travelled abroad, I was away from home, but with this role, I'm based at home. So, however, I'm talking of shift patterns now, and you're going into the realms of working nights and days and silly hours. And my husband said, you know, at the end of the day, you'll never get an opportunity like this. You know, you're a people person, you like to help people naturally. This is going to be probably where you should have been many years ago. And I went for it, and I said yes, and I got the official application come through, and 3.5 years later, here I am.
Wow.
still there, and that was my journey. That brought
That's
me to
so
policing.
interesting. So much variety in your life. And then your entry route was through apprenticeship.
Yes, correct, yes.
Okay, but it was for police constable.
Correct, yes.
Right, and then you became a detective.
Yes.
Take us through that.
Yes. So the route of the Police Constable Degree Apprenticeship, I did hesitate at the start for this because I thought when I was applying, because the actual programme involves being a police officer, so it's like the normal entry route of a police officer, where you go through your 20 weeks of your training at training school, and then obviously you go through your independent patrol status and so on, until you get signed off by a advanced officer that's already on your shift, if that makes sense. So somebody who's got the experience, an experienced officer. So you basically would shadow them for a bit, and then you take the lead, and then they obviously observe you and see how you handle situations. That's your independent patrol status. But alongside that, with the police constable degree apprenticeship, is the degree. So you do a degree for professional policing degree with the University of Derby alongside your police job. So I thought, this is going to be a bit too much, and have I applied for something that maybe I can't achieve?
So it was a full-time job.
Full-time job, and you're studying as well on the side. So you got your protected study leave, and you got your university days where you'd go and do your lectures and so on. Because mine was during COVID, it was all on Teams. So I didn't have to travel to the university back and forth. But the lectures were done all on Teams, which was really good. So I did my so I was on response. I was on frontline as a PC for 2 years. Completed everything. The degree program is for 3 years, and as part of the program in year 2, you get the opportunity to apply for other specialist areas within the force. I very quickly realised while I was on frontline response, I couldn't do enough for people. So if I got assigned a job by our control room, and I went to the job and there's a victim involved, and that job would normally go to, if it still had a lot more investigation to do, say if it was a high-risk domestic, or say it was a stabbing or so on, these kind of jobs would go to CID or public protection. So the job would get taken off a frontline officer. I wanted to do those. I wanted to still carry on. And so I very quickly realised I need to be an investigator of more complex crimes. And my sergeant noticed that as well. He said, you can't let go of your jobs, but your bit is done now. You've done your bit. You need to hand it over. And I thought, that's where I need to go. So when it came to applying for my 3rd year, I had the option to go into specialised areas. And I said, please, can I go into public protection? Because at the time I felt I want to go into a place where I can do more for the victim, take the jobs to court, and prosecute the offenders. And the only way I can do that is to go into those areas. And I got accepted. And I'm currently now working through my portfolio to complete my PIP level 2, as it's called, to be a full-blown detective. I have my exams coming up in September, which is your National Investigators exams as well. So you have quite a lot to do to become a detective, but I'm on the right channels, on the right route, I believe.
So much. And so powerful a story, honestly. And it clearly says you're not challenged by change. You rather enjoy it.
Yes.
Motorsport is there inside you, in your veins, running all across. So, yes, so you are a very energetic person, as I can feel, and you really wanted to see justice done. Yeah. Sounds very, very interesting. That means there are different routes to it. It all depends on where you are, how much have you done till now, and from there on. But then there's no stopping, no one telling you cannot just move from any other career to policing.
Yes.
Right. Very good. Now, coming to it, what are the benefits of being a DC? Are there any?
I personally, with my transition from being a PC to DC, I feel I can manage my investigations, and they are serious and complex investigations, especially with my area being rapes and serious sexual offences. As a DC, you can go into several other areas, just obviously to mention it isn't just purely rapes, but high-risk domestic violence, your CID, your major crime and intelligence areas as well. But for me specifically, the benefits of being a DC is you can manage your whole investigation and take it to court and see it through, which I felt I couldn't do as a PC, especially for your serious and complex crimes. You are the officer in charge of your case, so you can basically utilise other specialist areas as well within the force to bring your evidence together to build a case and to progress further. And you get respected more by your victims of serious and complex crimes like rapes when they know a detective is dealing with their case, because it is very serious. And we are obviously trained that little bit more than a police officer on the ground, because we are dealing with, you know, a lot of sensitive areas within our role. We're dealing with a lot of serious offenders. You know, they're not just dealing, you know, these people aren't just committing theft, you know, and robbery and burglary. You know, they're serious in their own will, but, you know, you're dealing with people's lives here. Exactly. And being a detective and really honing into your investigations, I think is brilliant.
Two questions come to my mind.
Yes.
One, I was thinking of it earlier when you were explaining your route into policing. How difficult is the initial training? Not just getting the degree or going to uni as an apprentice, but the training. How difficult is it? I think young people would love to know about it. And even those who are thinking of a change in a more matured age would want to know, is it even possible? Can they even think of? Because you have made it happen for yourself.
Yes.
Second thing is, well, I should be asking these two questions separately, but I'm putting it through so you can, you know, take us through this journey. You decided you wanted to become a DC, and there was a strong reason for it. Were you aware that being a detective, being in CID, would have a mental toll, would be very challenging, could devastate you sometimes, because you are open to all sorts of heinous crimes, and the faith in human can waver a bit once you are constantly witnessing these things happen. But you're also a family person. So to keep yourself, you know, what language should I use? It's not the balance. It's having the right set of mind when you are in that situation to when you come out, being able to be balanced, see through the truth, bring out the real picture for justice to be done, and then taking yourself, the person, back to home where there are people who have no idea of what you have gone through. So how does it all work?
No problem. So with the training side, training school, I loved it. So I'm 43 and I've only been in 3.5 years. And when I joined, my cohort, so my group of people that I joined with were half my age. So you
don't look 43 at all.
Thank you.
That's just on
good genes.
On calendar, yes.
And when I joined, and I remember my first few days in training school, and I thought, I'm going to struggle because I've not been to school now for 20 plus years, and I've got to now absorb all this information in. It's very scary because it's policing. You're dealing with people's lives, and that's how I see it. You're dealing with people's lives. You've got to do everything right, not just because you have to do it right, but you should be doing it right. And the public need to see it's been done right. So there's all these things that go through your mind. But training school was probably one of my best times because it's structured well. You're taught by people who have been through the process. So my trainer, for example, he was in the police force for 30 years. So he knows policing inside out. So he was training us, honestly is probably the best way to describe it. He was saying it as it is. He didn't flower it up. You know, it's not all fluffy and rosy and you're going out there and you look like these cool people on these, you know, line of duty and so on. It's very different. But the reality of it is you're dealing with people, you're dealing with people's lives. And the training is so structured that you do get your bread and butter from training. And the training also involves scenarios. So they will give you scenario days so you can put your kit on, your full uniform, and you've got your handcuffs and everything, and they train you how to use everything. your first aid training. We have to have annually our officer safety training, which is not just your fitness training, but also refreshing you on your handcuffs, on your baton, your parva, your pepper spray, as people would know of it. So the training, the first 20 weeks or so is brilliant. And by the end of it, you do know what you're doing. You've got a good idea.
In 20 weeks?
Yeah. It's Monday to Friday, 9 till 5 or sometimes 9 till 4. You know what you're doing. Every day was a different day and you're taught from different departments, so you know what other departments do. And that was the first time I realised that the police force had so many different departments, because you only see frontline officers in uniform, officers with dogs, stuff you see on police interceptors,
yes,
and then the detectives. But you don't realise all the other specialist areas within the force that are working to, work with the communities, and a lot of people don't know that. So it's
if you're
brilliant.
allowed to, please let the world know what are the different departments where they can have opportunity to work.
Yes. So public protection was one, and within public protection you have adults, children's, people who deal with paedophile, people who are dealing with intelligence around crimes happening. You have the CID area where you have major crime, burglary teams. You have the special ops areas as well. Obviously, I won't go too much into that side, but it was certain parts of the force I thought, I never thought you could go into this, and you can go as a detective into CID, into public protection, into intelligence, into you can move around, get experience from there, and move into counter-terrorism and so on. And it's amazing what the police force offers, and training school gave all of that. And I thought, wow.
And that too in only 20 weeks.
Only in 20 weeks. Yeah.
That's my thing. 20 weeks
20
and you need
weeks.
to know everything.
Yeah. And the bread and butter you will learn on your first day onwards, when you put uniform on and you're actually physically doing it. But the 20 weeks will give you all of the information you need around legislation. You have to understand your legislation, because we are acting as law enforcers.
Yes.
So we need to know what we are doing right by law.
So do you have to read through all the rules and regulations of the land?
And we get tested on it, so you get knowledge checks.
And that too in 20 weeks?
In the 20 weeks.
Okay.
Knowledge
everything
checks.
in that?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, if you do not pass, that it will get extended, because you have to be the right officer to be released in the public, So, doing those 20 weeks of training with your knowledge checks and passing the knowledge checks, then doing your scenarios so the tutors can assess that you are right to be put out in public. You know how to use your handcuffs, you know how to speak to people, and all this is taught in those 20 weeks with your health and safety, first aid and so on. And then you go out and go and do your independent patrol status.
How much of physical training and how much of the rest?
The rest, yeah. So there was more theory, so your PowerPoint presentations, and then you'd learn how to use the police systems, so that's all in your 20 weeks. If I had to do a split between percentage, say 70 was theory, 30 was practical during the 20 weeks.
Okay.
And then your full-on, your full-blown practical 100% is from day one when you go out, which is part of your 10-week independent patrol status. So this is where your experienced officer monitors you, and they basically see how you operate. They will do the job, and then you follow what they do, and then you take control of jobs, and they will shadow you. And that's how you get signed off your 10-week independent patrol status.
Okay.
Shall I move on to the next?
Before that, I just wanted one kid-like question. But then,
No.
Is there firearm training done within those 20 weeks?
The only equipment training that we would get in your 20 weeks is your handcuffs, your baton, and your parva, your pepper spray. Pepper spray is a firearm. It's equivalent to a firearm, because if you spray it, you are basically I'm trying to think of the word now. So basically, you will halt that person for at least 20 minutes,
Okay.
and take control of them. But no firearms, no other specialist training. We are exposed to training of the firearms department and what specialist departments do, but we would not. And that includes obviously taser. So you have to have passed all of your independent patrol status and have been in the force. I think it's 2 years probation for police officers. I was a 3-year probation through my programme. But you have to pass your 2-year probation to have your blue light training, to have blue lights on your vehicles, and then taser. And then anything past that, obviously firearms is a different ball game. You're looking at different fitness tests, different level of training, which I would never be able to do.
Oh my God.
I never want to go into that world.
Why do you think so? You have achieved so much in so little time. And a few years back, you wouldn't have imagined yourself in this position.
Never.
Right? No. And you have achieved that. You have clearly shown that change is beautiful.
Absolutely.
and there's no age limit to that.
Absolutely.
How fit were you when you decided to go on to this? Like, were you going to gym regularly, or you were running? Let people know what's needed.
I've generally always been a fit person. I'm very active. I am a very active person. I don't go to the gym.
Okay, fantastic.
But I do have I mean, now I definitely do, since joining the police force. We have got like treadmill and bike at home and so on. But I've never been to the gym, but I'm generally an active person. But because during COVID, when I applied, everybody was at home, so everybody was going through the whole Joe Wicks and staying fit and everything. I also remained fit. And to do the fitness test, I did panic a little bit, and I did a couple of practices, and I thought, I won't be able to do this. But when it did come to doing it, you're surprised, because I think it was the drive in me. If I fail this, this is embarrassing, because I've got this far. Why am I going to fail on this? And that drove me to pass the test. And it's not as difficult as it sounds.
Okay.
When you do it. There is an app, if anybody wants to test, there is an app called the Bleep Test that you can download on Google Play and iPhone, whatever, I don't know what the one is for iPhone. You can download the Bleep Test and actually do a test. It's 15 metres that you have to do the beep test, and you have to complete up to 5.4 level.
Okay.
The shuttles.
That's interesting that there's an app and you can just try it.
Give it a go. Give it a go. And
Yes.
I did that, and I gave it a go, and it worked. So I thought, I can go and do the test, and I passed it.
Wow.
And you have to do it every year, so you have to keep your fitness levels up. And touch wood, I have been passing it every year still.
Fantastic, fantastic. It's all in here.
It is.
And did you, like, when you started telling us about this, you were saying that people half your age were there with you.
Yes.
Did you ever think that as a big challenge?
Yes. Always, the first few weeks, I thought, I'm going to struggle with these knowledge check tests, because my mind probably isn't going to be as active as obviously everyone that's younger than me. And I think, to my surprise, I was probably storing more information because of the worry. And I think, life experience.
Obviously, you had much more experience than them, so you would be more resilient when it came to anything else to do with the mind. And obviously, you were bringing so much of experience from so many different roles that you were in.
Yes.
But what about the physical side of it? Did you ever think that, well, they'll beat me anytime?
Oh, yes, definitely. And to my surprise, I was probably one of the ones always at the front with the youngsters.
Fantastic.
It was great.
You encourage us to feel very young.
Do it.
We're kind of same age, so it feels so much better.
They motivated me. So the youngsters, I thought, I've got to keep up with them. And you kind of work both ways, and they probably looked at me, thought, if she can do it, we can do it.
We can do it. Perfect. Wonderful. Now let's move on to the next part of it.
Yes.
The challenges as a detective.
Yes. So I know you've obviously mentioned the trauma.
But before we go on to that,
yes.
if you would tell me, what does your normal day look like?
Oh, wow.
And then we can go on to what if you are, in a place, in a situation where you can be traumatized, and how do you adjust to that and all of that?
So there's never a normal day in public protection, as you can imagine.
Reality check.
Yes, but I think in policing, every day is a different day. And because I've seen it on Frontline, you'll get one job to another, like a domestic one day, and then you get a theft on one day. With being in the detective world, you know what you're going to be dealing with, because we're specialising in a certain area. So I'm specialising with rapes and sexual offences. So the jobs are mainly going to be along those lines. We can have a job which is, for example, an incident that's just happened a few hours ago or 24 hours ago, or something that happened, like one of my jobs, 40 years ago. And the victim has now got courage 40 years later to come forward.
Okay.
And the level of investigation for both of them can differ, because you're looking at historic offences where legislation, Sexual Offences Act, didn't exist to what it exists now since 2003. And then the more recent jobs that would come in, if it's happened within the 7 days, that victim's in the forensic window. So we then start going into the realms of medical procedures and so on to get forensics. So every day within our area differs vastly. Some days we can be really busy and you can do a 12-14 hour shift and go home and think, oh my goodness, so let's start again the following day. Some days you'll just go and do your normal 8 to 10 hour shift and catch up with your cases that you're already working on. So it differs every day. But you're pretty much working with the same type of offences, never the same level, because it can go from a rape is a rape, but then sometimes with a rape you might get domestic, you might get an assault, and you might get various other offences linked to that. So it can differ.
It can differ.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you were to think of any incident that actually shook you from inside, did it ever happen?
Oh, yes. So part of our role as a detective, especially in high-risk domestics and rapes and sexual offences, we do video recorded interviews. So you've probably seen it on TV when you have a victim sitting on a sofa and they're being interviewed. And that's normally what we say, achieving best evidence from the victim, because they're giving their account verbally and obviously visually. And you can see their demeanour, you can see everything about them when they're giving their story of what's happened. I've probably come across quite a few jobs within 16 months of now being on public protection, where I've come out of video recorded interviews and I think, my goodness, you feel sick to the stomach, you feel emotionally upset, but you have to stay strong, not just for yourself, but I think for the victim as well, to kind of move on from it. And again, I don't know if it's life experience and my age, I find it easy most days to carry on. Right, I've done that, and if I need to speak to someone, I mean, we have wellbeing support, we have TRIM, so the trauma management teams and so on, and they're really good, and they do pop into public protection often to speak to people, how you're getting on, and they'll have a general chit chat and wellbeing. You can go and speak to them and say, I just need to speak to somebody. I'm not comfortable probably speaking to a sergeant about it because they're busy as well. And just to get something off your chest, really, isn't it? And like you said earlier, you have to do your job and you go home and you switch off and you go, well, what would you like for dinner, dear? And that's normally me. I'll go home and I switch off.
But how difficult can that be?
It can be, because I don't want to see police interceptors when I go home. Where back in the days, I loved watching crime dramas, and to an extent I still do. But when you've had a really bad day where you've seen the trauma in a victim, you know, it drives me to help that person more. But the last thing I want to do is go home and watch something on TV. Exactly. So I try to separate myself from work when I go home, and you try to live a normal life, and you do carry on. You know, and the support is there, because I'm very lucky, touch wood, I've got a good team around me, a good family, that you can move on from, you know, things that you might be thinking of that you've just seen in the day, and you think, oh my God, because they're not nice things. No. And it's nice that we know we've got people to talk to in the force if we are suffering.
But how did you feel about these things when you started to now?
Yes.
16 months, as you say,
Yes, yeah.
into it. Obviously, every day is a new experience and you
Yeah.
mature with it.
Yes.
You learn how to absorb
Yeah.
and how much to absorb,
Yes.
honestly speaking.
Yes. Yeah.
And then how you can actually shut yourself from not being affected, but
Yeah.
being more realistic or
Yes.
logical.
Yeah.
But as a newbie, was it difficult?
It was. So I remember doing my video recorded interview for the first time. It was nervous because it was my first time doing it, but also sitting in front of the victim when they were giving their account of how they've allegedly been sexually assaulted is not nice to hear. And I remember coming out of there and I felt quite upset. You know, the reality of it is I came out and my colleague, who's an experienced DC, she actually asked me if I was all right because she could see during the interview I was probably choking up a little bit when I was talking to her, and I'd go, do you want a break? Because I felt I needed a break, you know, and that's how it felt. But after I've come out of the interview, my driver always, since I've joined policing, is what more can I do? And I think that's just generally in me, is my driver, and I push all the emotions to a side and I kind of go, right, how am I going to help this person to get rid of their, you know, and that kind of helps me in return.
That was exactly what I was going to ask. In such a situation where you're seeing the dirty side of the society,
Yes.
the evil part of human brain,
Yeah.
not that human are evil, but we have the good and the evil. And there are times when the evil comes out. And people like yourselves do see the evil side more.
Yeah.
And that can devastate you.
Yeah.
So what is the drive? What is it that makes you keep going?
Yeah.
Because that, I probably think, as a layman, that's the question. What makes her do it? And then, well, I should also add to it another thing. The society constantly, as much as we talk about equality, still a woman becomes a mother.
Yep.
She's capable of giving birth.
Yeah.
She's the one who is more compassionate. And I am not comparing fathers. I mean, the world would have been a worse place without wonderful dads that are around. And that is why we talk about equality. We see women doing so much because there are men who are so much more, loving, caring, and they wouldn't even mention the sacrifices they would have ever done, wouldn't even give a second thought. Still, as a woman, taking up all this, and then getting the drive to do it the next day. What was it, or what is it that drives you? And your smile is absolutely beautiful and it has all the life in it. You see so much of bad thing around yourself, still you get the courage. And what is it?
I love my job, is probably the best way to put it. I love and pride my job, but my driver is how to help these people. They're the most vulnerable people in society. And for me, if I can help that person, even one person in our society, take their job to where it needs to, so they get closure for what's happened to them, the offender gets what they deserve in the nicest, manner, and hence it comes back to how we feel, because it does make us angry. Because sometimes the evidence is so strong, and you think that person's done wrong, but our job is to gather the evidence and give it to the Crown Prosecution Service for them to progress it. But we want to make it so right and keep that victim on board. That's the most difficult part, keeping the victims on board. To a point, it does affect me as an individual because it's hard work to instill trust and confidence. And we always use that in policing, don't we? Trust and confidence. But when it comes to rapes and sexual offences and building trust into a victim, that a police officer, with all the things that have happened with the Sarah Everard case and all these things that fly around the media and destroy us over and over again, instilling that trust. And I think if I've got that person on board, I'm halfway there, and then my driver is now to take him, or mainly, as we say, in sexual offences, it's normally a him.
But it can be the other way.
It can
as
be
well.
either way. Take that person to the courts and prove them guilty is my driving factor, and that would satisfy me that I've done my bit in life. You know, having all these nice jobs, glamorous jobs, as people refer, oh, you did glamorous jobs for policing. They were good. They didn't give me the satisfaction that I get now. And it's incredible, at 3.5 years in, when you can help someone. I've had victims come to me and say, thank you for everything you did. That's a big thing for me, because I think I've helped someone move on. And that drives me, and I think if I can do it for them, I can do it for them. And you know, and I've got the right people around me. I've got senior officers that I can go to and say, I need support. You know, I'm still quite new in the role, and they will instill more trust in me. That gives me more confidence to move forward. And yeah, perfect. It's not easy.
It's not easy,
but with the right people around you, it's never difficult. And I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change what I do. Definitely.
How different is it being the real DC and a DC in a crime series on TV? Because that's what people see and they're inspired. And but when a child says, I want to become this, there are situations, and as we were interviewing others, we did hear this, that how did their family and friends react, and we even did have one of my guests say that she had to lose many of her friends when she decided to join the police. So that's why I'm asking you this, that how different is it being the real DC and the what we see on the telly?
So previous to policing, I was very vocal on social media, and I did a lot of press releases and so on. As part of my role in marketing and so on. When I joined policing, one of the things I did, I found it difficult to, but I did it. I came off social media completely.
Okay.
Came off social media.
Are you required to do that?
No. No. That was a personal choice, because I felt, and this is personal preference, I personally felt I don't want people knowing my personal life, because I'm now dealing with people within Nottinghamshire who are going to be not too, you know, they're close to home, aren't they? I'm a Nottinghamshire born and bred girl. I'm going to come across people from different walks of life, and I might come across people that I know, hence conflict of interest and so on. So obviously colleagues would deal with that, but I don't want people to know who I am and my personal life outside. And because of my previous roles, it was very out there because of the marketing roles and so on, and I had to do so much that I had to put that life away, in a sense, to progress with what I'm doing now. Bit of a private life is probably how I like it, but also I'm not shy to tell people what I do, because I'm proud of what I do, and I think, you know, if there's people out there that want to do it, they should do it, because, you know, I hesitated at the start for all the wrong reasons, my age, and you know, I've got no experience in policing and so on, but you know, I'm still here, and I've progressed into a role that I want to be in. TV series you've mentioned, I was a massive fan of Line of Duty during COVID, massive fan, and I hadn't even applied for the police at the time when I was watching it. So when I did apply and I was coming towards the end of the series, it became more and more fascinating. Oh, I want to be a detective, I want to do this. But I think the reality of it is what you see on TV shows, like dramas, is not quite how it is in policing, but it gives you a good idea. Okay. You know, it's all dealing with crime, isn't it? But it looks a bit more glamorous on TV. But essentially you're dealing with crime, but in reality, you know, it's serious because you're dealing with people's lives. You're dealing with a victim, you're dealing with a suspect, and you've got to handle everything carefully to include the communities that it affects. Because a lot of the jobs that we deal with, especially DCs, they do affect the communities because they're serious cases, and we've got to do the right thing, you know, not just for the victim and the suspect, but their families and so on.
Exactly. And you mentioned the word glamorous. Exactly. On TV, everything can be very glamorous, yet it lets us know about some of the things that the kind of challenges. And these days, it's a beautiful thing that even the, you know, at least the dramas and the people who are writing the scripts and the directors who are making these are not shying away from portraying a very human character. Earlier, it would be just the heroic character. Now, it's quite more natural that they face challenges. They might go through loss. They might, you know, they're all very human. Yet, yes, it's on TV, or maybe in a film, and it is supposed to be glamorous for it to sell. We have to understand that. You're a person from marketing, you understand that.
Absolutely.
So, but we also understand the security reasons and other things. You know, it has also given us that piece of information, awareness, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Awareness. The community is more aware and therefore probably a little more patient regarding this. So, but again, I know I'm dragging on to this question, but this is the child like me inside that wants to know a little more, because I know we all sit there looking at this. I mean, yes, the human, yet the hero. You know, I mean, because they are the one risking their lives. They are the one trying to do justice for other people's lives. They are there to save somebody. They are there to get this person to justice. All of this in one person. Like a doctor can become a god for a few minutes. Similarly, a police officer or a detective can actually, it seems like the string of somebody else's life is in their hand. Save them or let them go. So, being a DC yourself, being in those situations, how real is that? How, I mean, how cautious do you make yourself? Or I mean, a little more into that.
Yes. So I think it naturally, again, it comes from your training as well, right from the start, how you are trained. So not just from a DC point, but literally from the start when you're trained, you are trained, you know, to be impartial. That's very important. We're not here to take sides. And we are, like you say, we are holding people's lives by a string, you know, but we hope those strings are like solid ropes that we can obviously do something with to give them something back. You know, and I think it's a battle every day when it comes to, you know, keeping the trust on board, especially with victims, because, you know, they're probably held by the most delicate string, because they've basically told us things that even their family members probably don't even know. And it might be embarrassing to them, it's very close to them, it's practically destroyed their lives. And for them to give us all that trust and say, here's my life, what can you do about this? It is a big responsibility.
Very big responsibility.
And you, I think you just deal with it. And again, it does come back from your training and what that training does to you. And my own family and friends have noticed it in me. They said, we've seen a change in you with the job change. And I was, oh, well, what sort of change have you seen? And they see me a bit more reserved, a bit more calm. I probably don't come across calm, but to them I've come across.
No, definitely.
And people have seen the change.
You must be calm in here to be able to do this.
But they've seen the change, and I think you kind of adapt as time goes on. You just adapt to the situations, you know, and the longer I feel, I mean, 3.5 years is not a lot to me, but 3.5 years I've noticed how I deal with things. not just at work, but out of work. And it's how you think and how you process things, and then how you act on things. It's very different. You see things when you're out and about on your normal out of work, general, when you're out and about on your home life, and you see things and you think, oh my God, that's not right, and you try to fix things. And I'm so bad because I cannot switch off. I'm naturally one of those people. I think that's not right, I'm going to go and report that. And my husband will be like, oh my God, switch off. And I'm like, it's not right, and if I do that, I've helped another person. And that's just naturally how I am. But yeah, it's having that responsibility on your shoulders is not easy, but you deal with it. You just do, you know. And I think you've got to be a certain type of person to be a police officer, definitely.
So what is that particular attribute in your opinion that will make somebody a great detective? Can you think of anything?
Oh, I can think of many things. I mean,
let the world know.
So, I mean, you've got to be strong. You've got to be resilient, especially to be a DC, because you are going to deal with the more serious crimes. And like we've obviously spoken about emotions and so on, you've got to hold back. You've got to be able to do that, because your emotions, you cannot let your emotions take over, especially generally in policing, but especially in these areas as well, because they can upset you, and you've got to put that, how I describe it, put that part of your human life to a side for a moment while you deal with things professionally, calmly, and how your training kicks in. And then bring your emotions back in and take them home with you, you know. But, you know, you definitely got to be a strong person. You've got to be a caring person. I am passionate about my job. It naturally, I think in all my jobs I've always been quite passionate. I'll take on a task and I'll just run with it. But you've got to have a care element to you, because you've got to care if you're going to go and help someone. And if you don't care, you're never going to do the best job. I like to think I care about my jobs, because I always think, what more can I do for this person? And I think that's probably, that's why I've gone from PC to DC, because I couldn't do enough as a PC. But yeah, a strong person, a caring person.
Strong yet caring.
Strong yet caring.
In control.
Two different worlds.
But resilient.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So anybody hearing or seeing this episode of Behind the Badge must understand, if you ever aspire to be a detective or just a police officer, you have to have these qualities, or at least these are the best that will help you through and yet deliver the best in yourself.
Yeah.
Right, best from your side. Okay, so let's have a little more chat about any other piece of advice that you want to give to young people. What can they do if they think they want to join the police department, Nottinghamshire police? Okay, before going on to that, I need to ask this. You're a woman of colour, but you were born here, brought up here in this very city, and you have travelled to different parts of the world. So you bring a lot of experience in it. So you're the best person to speak about this. Discrimination, inclusivity. How do you see the balance of both? How do you see these things being taken care of in Nottinghamshire Police Department?
Nottinghamshire Police is probably the best for it. We've got our own specialised areas, community cohesion. We have police staff and officers who are working day in, day out on, you know, for example, you said women of colour. We have our own representatives for women of colour. I've been to one of the recent events for it as well. There is so much opportunity when it comes to diversity and inclusion. I personally feel no one should ever hesitate to apply in policing, because times have changed now, from probably my era back in the days when we're looking at the 80s, and you know, that gives my age away now, doesn't it? 80s, and when you're looking at the 70s and 60s, when the world was a very different place in the UK, policing wasn't multicultural, and it has changed. It hasn't changed over the years, but it is getting there. More recent years, I would say, there is a change, and you can see it visually, you know, in communities. You can see it on TV. You know, in the dramas you've mentioned, you see diverse officers and so on. But from a force perspective, from what I see as well, there is a lot of support. There's a lot of different areas that are supporting different parts of Black, Asian, the minorities and the communities to, you know, join the force and support us that are already in the force as well. You know, I'm a massive believer of treating everyone equally, and I'd expect to be treated in that same manner as well. But for anyone that would hesitate to apply, I would highly recommend, you know, there's no reason to you know, hesitate in applying in the police force, thinking that they may not be accepted because of their background and so on, because there is support within the force, you know, and we are a force that is diverse and, you know, impartial, and we want a diverse police force because our communities are diverse. And to only serve those communities, you need the right people, the people that understand those communities.
Okay. That's very helpful to know that there's so much support there.
Yes, yeah.
Yet when I was interviewing two other ladies, a very young PC,
Yes.
and another lady who has come through a different route and is now a PC, both women of color, coming from very different ethnic minority backgrounds.
Right.
They were relating to stories. One of them was saying how she has to face this discrimination time and again,
Right.
particularly coming from the community. The kind of remarks that are being made, abusive remarks
From the communities.
From the communities.
Right.
And that there is a long way to go before this acceptance comes from inside and outside. Inside, definitely, it's much better. Everybody is talking about that because there are so many associations now built just to give them the comfort zone, the support needed. If you cannot go and really talk to HR, your line manager, as Dave was saying, if you cannot do that, then you have these associations as well.
Yes.
So over the period of interviewing others, I've come to understand that a lot of change has been brought. And that is very supportive. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yet, have you ever faced any such situation where you are trying to put your best and yet you were challenged for being a person of color? Whether from the outside, inside?
Very good question. Definitely not from the inside.
Okay. But from the outside? From the community?
I'm trying to think now. I've never noticed it. One of my colleagues said to me once, this was when I was in uniform, it was quite interesting. But, so I went to a domestic, and it was an Asian family. And the male of the Asian family, he was quite senior, he didn't want to talk to us because we were female officers. And I was talking to him, and she says, I noticed how he was looking down at you. That's how she described it. His attitude towards you, not towards her as much. So my colleague was a white officer, white female officer. He was directing more towards me, as if he was talking down to me rudely. I mean, I don't get fazed by it because, you know, you're there for a job and you do the job in hand. I didn't notice it at the time, and she said, he was talking to you rudely and not to me. And I says, when I thought about it afterwards, I says, yeah, because he won't be used to, by the looks of the situation we went into, a female talking to him of the same colour. And he probably didn't like that. And I says, that didn't faze me. I says, at that time, all I was doing was my duty, and he was going to listen to me. And if he didn't listen to me, then things would go the other way. But I did my job, didn't notice it, didn't get fazed. And my colleague pointed it out to me. She says, I noticed his behaviour towards you. And I said, yeah, I know why that is. I've never felt anything directly. And probably, even if I've been oblivious, I might have been oblivious to it, because I'm very, do your job, get your job done, and note everything down, back, done. I can imagine how people behave towards, obviously like you described, if a colleague has felt this, because I think the community needs to be educated, because they need to realise that their daughters, especially from their communities, if we don't step up and help other daughters, who else is going to understand them and their communities better? And I think that's quite key. We need people from our communities to stand by us, to support people, because who understands culture and religion and so on other than people from your own community?
Exactly.
And they need to give us that opportunity. And I understand where probably this colleague's frustration is coming from. I've never personally experienced it, probably my ignorance. And again, it probably
Not
just comes down to
maybe just
do my
you
job.
really don't want to get that into your head.
Yes, but it's a shame, because, you know, there's more bad press in the media about the police than there is good. And I think if there was more good, you know, presented out there about the police, people would probably trust us a little bit more and probably want their children to join the police force. But it's a shame to hear that. But, you know, I've never personally felt
Very
anything
good.
directly.
But have you got praises openly from the community while doing your job?
Yes.
From your own people?
Yes, and that's always been my driving factor,
Wow.
yes. Even when they've spoken to me because I speak Punjabi, Hindi and Urdu.
Okay.
So even when they've spoken to me in their own language, and I'll speak back to them, you know, to say shukriya or whatever, you know, and it's nice. It's nice to hear the praise, because, you know, that is what we do our job for. And when you fulfilled your duty when someone thanks you for it, because you don't hear thank yous enough in our job.
I can understand. Yet when that situation happens where somebody is thanking you for your job, that can be so much more rewarding.
It's a good day.
Yes, definitely. And just as we were discussing, the least that, I mean, as much we talk about inclusivity and other things, we also have to understand that the change can be brought about only if people of color start bringing about the awareness in the community that you need to stop being discriminative. It's not the others that are, you know, discriminating. It's also people from our own communities who are wanting to hold back. If they don't see it, that our representation from our own community is what we need. If they hold back their boys and girls from getting into those roles, that is not going to help shape a better future for us.
That's right.
So they have to see it. And probably who better than us taking on this job, or people like yourselves who are role models for so many young people. So if there was one tip you wanted to give to young people, especially young people of color, and I really don't mean to be discriminative here, but there's a reason why I'm saying this, and we all know that the representation from the colored community or people of ethnic minority backgrounds is much less in police, and they are trying to increase that. But if there was one particular tip or something, some inspiration, something that made you feel different and which you think can inspire them, or you would want to share with them, very young people, what could it be?
Oh, wow.
Especially because you have been out and about doing so many different jobs.
Yes.
And then you end up doing this and you find so much satisfaction. Yet your job is so very challenging, but you're absolutely driven. So there must be something that you can give to them, the spark.
Yes. Personally, if you've got a drive in you to do it, just do it, you know. And I think everything around you falls in place. Because if you don't get up and do it, then the next person next to you never will. And like you say, if I'm a role model for someone, these young people want to be the role model for the next young people, and they need to step up and do their bit as well. So, you know, do it, just go for it. You know, don't let people hold you back, because how I've always said, this job is no different from being a lawyer or a dentist or a doctor. You know, as we look at, especially in the Asian community, every parent wants their child to be a doctor or a barrister or a lawyer or so on. You know, why not a police officer? Because a police officer I've studied law. You get taught law in training school. You're practically a lawyer in a sense, aren't you, really, because you're dealing with the law. And you're dealing with people directly in their lives, you know, and you can better these people's lives and the communities overall. So if you can do that, if you've got something in you that says, I want to get up and do something different, be a police officer.
Thank you, Harminder.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you have shared. And I wish you loads of luck and, you know, congratulations for all that you have achieved till now.
Thank you.
Loads more to go.
Oh, thank you very much.
I hope you would come back to more conversation sessions like these.
Why not?
Fantastic. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Behind the Badge. A heartfelt thank you to Harminder Rai-Mottram for sharing her invaluable experiences and the essential work she does in the Public Protection Unit. If you feel inspired to consider a career with Nottinghamshire Police, please scan the QR code on the screen to express your interest. For more information, visit nottinghamshire.police.uk or you can email at careers@nots.police.uk. Join us again for more enlightening stories. Till then, I'm Anu. Stay safe and take care.